Welcome back to Hard. Well, President Trump is not alone when it comes to engaging in obstructionist behavior. Republicans across the country now are following his lead in state legislatures they control, particularly when it comes to, you guessed it, voting rights. In Florida, voters overwhelmingly passed a ballot initiative last year to restore voting rights to former felons. In other words, you serve your time, 10, 20 years, whatever it was. Once you're out, you can become a citizen again. You get the 15th Amendment back. You can vote. But now Republicans are making it more difficult for those people who have served their time. Today, Florida lawmakers, passed legislation requiring those former felons to pay all their court fees at the time they were arrested and tried, and all restitutions, if there is any involved, before they can vote. Florida's not alone. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, there are at least 18 bills out there restricting voter rights, actively right now moving through 9 states with Republican-controlled legislatures. Where I'm joined by our friend Jason Johnson, politics editor at The Root. To me, some of this stuff is partisan and some of it's just predatory. You're just going to make lives miserable. A guy, mostly guys, get out of prison.
Right.
Hard time. The one thing that might give them a sense of citizenship again is, you know what, you're allowed to vote now.
Right. And we're talking local city council things. And here's the thing, Chris, about Florida.
What do you mean local city council?
Because that's where people are going to start. You want the guy who served 5 years for armed robbery to be like, you know what, I do care about school board. I'm back here with my daughter. I'm engaged in the community again. This is a way for people to reconnect. 64% of the population in Florida wanted this bill. More people wanted felons to vote again than wanted DeSantis.
That includes a lot of Republicans, too.
Exactly. Republicans, white people, black people, Latinos. So the Republicans in the state legislature are suborning the will of the people in that state and taking away people's rights. It's anti-democratic and it's horrendous politics.
You know, it's not that many votes, too. But anyway, do you think some of the gamemanship by the Republican Party is they are shrinking ethnically?
Yeah.
I mean, and they say, well, maybe we can hang on like the Federalists hung on because they controlled the courts all those years back in our beginning. They think, well, we can maybe squeeze out another victory.
That's the goal. Look, the Republican Party has become, not state by state, but nationally, it's a white people party. They have lost Latinos. All that stuff was under Reince Priebus. They've lost Latinos. They've lost African Americans. They've lost the growing Asian population. Their only way of winning
I think they still have Vietnamese.
Well, yes, maybe,
no, really, and Cubans.
Yeah, smaller ethnic groups, but that's mostly state by state. If you're talking sort of nationally, they're still having difficulty. That's why you see them ending voting rights in different states. That's why you see the voter ID. That's why you see things in Tennessee.
Well, why did George
W.?
I'm not a big fan of George W. because of the Iraq War. Right. But he was one Republican that said, darn it, I'm going to make my case with the Mexican-American voter down in Texas. And he did.
Yes, he did.
He got high 30s.
30-something. He got 25% of the African-American vote, but that's not the current Republican Party. And this is the biggest sticking point. If you're going out into the community and saying, yes, I'm Donald Trump, what have you got to lose with the black community? And then your party in Georgia, in Florida, in different states is saying, but we don't want you to vote. What kind of message are you sending? And that's clearly what the Republican Party doesn't care about.
What more can I say? What do you? I got nothing more to say. I mean, you're so right. Anyway, another tool for obstruction has been political gerrymandering, drawing a states. We know this one. Their congressional map to give one party an unfair advantage. Today, a 3-judge panel in Ohio ruled that the state's congressional map is unconstitutional. That map we're looking at and needs to be redrawn ahead of the 2020 elections before next year. The current map was created in 2011 under full Republican control, with Republicans consistently winning 12 of Ohio's congressional seats compared to the Democrats, who have just 4. That's despite Democrats getting almost half the statewide congressional vote. Ohio's not alone. A number of other states are facing questions about partisan gerrymandering, including cases in Maryland. That's where the Democrats did the bad stuff. North Carolina, where the Republicans did, that are pending before the Supreme Court. You know, I really do think this cuts. I think most people hate gerrymandering, especially when they get a look at a map and it's got a salamander-shaped district with some weird curly cues in Maryland, just not the Democrats off the hook. You got Frederick, it's stuck in one district that's really surrounded another district, and what's that about?
It's cut and slicing the pizza. Nobody wants a district that looks like a Slinky, right? Yeah. Here's the problem, though. Number one, we're all waiting for what the Supreme Court says, because ultimately this court is going to determine if partisan gerrymandering is okay. They've said you can't racially gerrymander, but they have so far wanted to avoid whether or not partisan gerrymandering is as a problem. That's what we're really concerned about. But here's the other issue. It is anti-democratic. If you look at Ohio,
they know that's why they do it.
Well, exactly.
What did the Democrats do for years in California?
Well,
Phil Burton.
They cut everything to work
to make all the incumbents safe.
Exactly.
So that a voter who's a good voter, man or woman, couldn't go into the voting booth and make a change.
Exactly.
Because the incumbents were unbeatable.
Exactly. Here's the problem. When you have a state like Ohio, I used to be an Ohio voter, the voters in 2018 voted to have an independent commission draw their district. So actually what's happening right now is, again, the Republican state legislator is fighting against the will of the people. The people want their districts cut fairly. They will vote for you if you're good. You don't need this incumbent protection, and you don't need this party protection. It's the most dangerous thing we're facing in 2020.
And I think the problem is with gerrymandering, like all this stuff, it creates parties which are only hard left or hard right.
Exactly.
You don't get to choose because the only thing you fear is a primary.
Right.
And if the only thing you fear is a primary, you're always going to edge a little bit further than you normally would think you'd be. Anyway, thank you, Jason.
Thank
this
you.
is very vigorous here between you and you. Coming up next.